low-life piece of shit to get involved in politics.
Who am I supposed to vote for? Am I supposed to vote for the Democrat who's going to blast me in the ass, or the Republican who's blasting my ass?
Politics is just all one big ass blast. A woman in politics is like a donkey doing calculus.
That's politics, bitch! That's politics, bitch!
That is politics, bitch!
But with global warming...
Dumb science!
Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foulball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you're doing well because I'm doing phenomenally. Thank you very much. It's the 130th episode of the MFer podcast, and I thank you for spending this Thursday evening with me. We can talk about the news, talk about pop culture. You know, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about, actually. Just put your suggestions in the chat, and we'll have a conversation about whatever's on your mind. You know, we can talk about the horrific immigration situation in the UK. Or we could talk about civil rights. We could talk about whatever you're feeling, whatever's on your mind. I have some ideas. I have some thoughts about what we're going to talk about. Specifically, we're going to talk about this thing that I don't see anyone talking about. The only people I've seen talking about it are the husband and wife, liberal, left-wing YouTube couple, Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske. And it is... I think a really big story and a really big development is something that people should be covering is that it appears very much that Tulsi Gabbard, the former head of the former DNI, Director of National Intelligence, which has many, many intelligence agencies under her, as well as being, I think in the House and maybe one term in the Senate. I'm not sure about that, but definitely serving in positions of power in our government, is in some kind of a Hindu Hare Krishna cult and takes like direct orders as well as like odd verbal abuse from this weird like shadowy figure from behind the scenes. Pause. It is it's kind of freaky. It's like something out of a movie. It's like one of these documentaries you watch. There's one on HBO right now, and it's about these like fashion models in the 80s. I watched the first episode. It was really good. But it was like some weird, spooky guru who convinced all these young, like ascendant models who are making millions of dollars to give him all of his money because they were going to, I don't know, cure unhappiness or some shit. It was pretty wild. I didn't get too deep into it, but it was very good. The first episode was very compelling. And this has all the earmarks of that. This is very parallel to that. It's some freaky offshoot religion. First of all, I didn't even know she was Hindu. I guess she swore on whatever their book is when she got sworn in. And I was like, that really should have come up more in the election. That should have been more of the story. I'd never heard that. But it's even weirder than that. It's like this weird offshoot. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about this crazy story that I just feel like no one's talking about and really should be more center stage. I mean, I guess for me, you know, when I was on the Trump team and when I did think things were going to get better and we actually were going to win and the adults were back in charge, all of that just sounds so ridiculous in retrospect. But man, I did believe it. I was sincere. I was thrilled Tulsi was on the team. She's one of those people that I thought like, man, she's actually like really solid on foreign policy. Like she's not a wimp. But, like, you know, she's not an idiot either. We don't need to keep doing these unnecessary wars. That's before I realized why we were doing them all. But I still was like, she was solid. And she would go on Rogan 3 hours. And like, you're like, she seems smart. She seems well put together. She seems like, she'd be a great asset. She's the type of person we want in there. And now this comes out. Why was this not a story? Why was this not a bigger story? What's up, Craig Butler? How you doing? Atlas covered her being Hindu early a month or so ago. Yeah, I had no idea. That was news to me. And this big article came out in the Washington Post. It's a long article too. I've read the whole thing. It's like 30 pages. It's like a real investigative journalist undertaking that he's undertook. But I will say it's kind of, a lot of it is him just kind of proving his findings. He kind of wrote it almost like from the first person perspective. And I'm like, okay, man, I'm not really all that interested in you in this story. I kind of want to hear what you found out, what you learned. But regardless, it is very interesting, and we are going to talk about it. Said to you, Dildo, Operation Pooperclip and its consequences. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know what her ethnicity is. I assumed she was like kind of native Hawaiian. She always says, like Hawaii. She says it like the way the natives say it. And I guess just because she's from Hawaii, I sort of assumed. But she moved there in like the 80s with her parents, and I don't actually know where from. So she's not, it's not, I guess so. We are gonna chop up this story. It is really something else, but good to see y'all. Good to see you guys. Other than that, I guess we'll just break into it. Press like on the stream, huh? Give the algorithm some input that you're liking what you're seeing. Okay, lie, but do it for me. Do it for me. All right. So this is a story. I read the whole article, like I said, from the Washington Post, and I took some notes. I don't know if I can zoom in on this. No, that doesn't help. Can I do that? Nope, that just zoomed in my desktop. All right, maybe we won't share that. I'll just have that on my end. That's kind of silly, but I'll put the article up on the screen from the Washington Post. So like I said, it's a very involved article, and what it suggests is that Tulsi Gabbard, in her high position of, Director of National Intelligence, also a congresswoman, was behind the scenes involved in a cult whose former members say their leader, Chris Butler, demanded allegiance, demanded like obedience and reverence, and you had to like worship him like any of these other cult leaders. Like any of the people that we've heard over the years, like Jim Jones, or any of these like cult leaders where everyone kills themselves, stuff like that. It has all the earmarks of that, and apparently was giving her orders. Now, I don't know how much of that has been during the time of her being in charge of all the intelligence agencies, but there's certainly evidence that it was happening when she was a congresswoman. I feel like this is a big deal. I feel like if that woman is that powerful and there's like some shadowy organization or a shadowy group or just a shadowy figure with like alternative intentions other than hers, I feel like we should know about that. This feels like a scandal. This feels like a very big deal, like the type of thing that we should dig into. Maybe I'm just overblowing it, but I don't know. It kind of freaks me out, especially when you hear what some of the former members were saying, like kind of physical abuse, and they would like there were members in this group that, like, I guess back in like the 70s, went on TV and said that they would do anything he said. They'd even kill themselves if he asked. And I'm like, okay, so that's the type of group she's a part of, to a leader who would be okay with you saying that. Like, I mean, I guess it'd be kind of sick if, like, some girl I was dating was like, oh, I'd kill myself if you liked it. But it's just like, that seems like a level of blind devotion that's a little unhealthy. And this guy seems okay with it. So, let me see here. There we go. Well, wait. What the fuck? Oh my God. Why is it doing this? Give me a break. Give me a second here, folks. Okay, so here we go. So, this is a story. What the story will be revealed shortly. Soon enough. All right, this is a story. So, oh my God. All right, so Chris Butler, the eccentric religious leader Gabbard once described as her guru, Gabbard grew up in Butler's breakaway Hare Krishna group. So the Hare Krishnas, I don't know much about them, but I know that they were really big like in the 70s. They had this like really obnoxious way of kind of being everywhere, and they were super peaceful and super positive and like filled the world with like light and sunshine. And they were kind of like, you know, like a weird, not offshoot, but like adjacent group to the hippies. And a lot of people joined them and, you know, kind of like had a phase. And, you know, as far as I think most people knew, they were all but gone forever. But apparently they were alive and well and thriving in Hawaii. And little did we know that our good friend Tulsi Gabbard, her and her parents are big supporters of this very wacky group. Her parents held senior positions in the organization. Now, like I said, this is a very long article. I can't cover absolutely every single thing or we'll be here all night. And like I said, a lot of it's kind of boring. But I did highlight some things that I wanted to point out. What up, Tix Bomber? What's going on, brother? You knew a dude that went full Hare Krishna? Really? Is it bigger in Europe? Is it one of those things that's like more popular? Like I said, I know it as references. Like there's a reference to it in the movie Airplane where he like knocks out a Hare Krishna as like a joke. And then there's a movie I really like called The Last Detail. Yeah, The Last Detail, where Jack Nicholson is taking this kid to like prison. He's like a Navy guy. And they make this stop in like New York. And he like finds this like group of Hare Krishnas and really gets into it. And it's this whole little adventure that they get into. But that's about all I know. I figured they were all but extinct. But hey, you know, you learn something new all the time. So, all right. Former devotees had been telling me for weeks that Butler controlled his followers' major life decisions and demanded total obedience and secrecy. Okay? These are some interesting details. He demands total obedience, all right? Now, she's a follower. That means she's obedient to some other guy, some weird Indian Hare Krishna motherfucker in Hawaii that we don't know about, by the way. She's never really been transparent about this. People have talked about it. They've speculated about it, but I don't think it's ever been out in the open. So she's like a surrogate. She's like a puppet for like some other dude, some wacky guy who practices some weird yoga, Hindu, crazy cult-like religion and is using her to execute his own agenda? I mean, question mark, who fucking knows? Okay, so this woman who reached out to him said they spent years working to extend his reach in politics. Apparently, dude was totally obsessed with politics, and they suspected that Gabbard's rise in Washington was a culmination of that effort. Okay, so this guy's like, it's kind of like J.D. Vance, right? Like the way J.D. Vance isn't really like a real guy. Like he's like a creation of Peter Thiel. It's sort of the same thing, except instead of it being like a tech entrepreneur, you know, AI freak, it's like some weird, like, are there any real politicians? Like, is a politician's job just to be a surrogate of some other power? Is that all they are? Are they just like an autonomous drone that powerful people operate? Maybe I'm just coming to this revelation now, but it does seem like it's so unnerving, right? Trump works for Mary Adelson. J.D. Vance works for Peter Thiel. Tulsi Gabbard worked for some freak in Hawaii. You know, next we're going to find that, Thomas Massey is like an automaton that Ron Paul designed in his garage. What's up, Atlas? How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Craig Butler was just saying that you covered a little bit of Tulsi Gabbard being a Hindu. Well, now recently it comes out, not only was she Hindu, she's part of some Hare Krishna cult, some kind of yoga worshiping sect with this dude, Chris Butler, the guy in the picture there, who like calls all the shots and she works for him. Bro, no women in politics, man. No women in politics. All right. So this is okay. So what the bulk of this article does is it kind of talks a little bit about how wacky this group is and his different political ambitions over the years. Like he started like a few different groups, something called like IGG, like some kind of god I forgot what the acronym stood for, but it was like some kind of God in politics thing. But it's like he had a very specific sect of his Hindu faith that he was using to operate in politics. And he also, the group's called the SIF, and a lot of it's like very secret. There's like certainly, so there's certain, right here it says there's certain leaders of the SIF who believe we're mishandling allegations of physical and sexual abuse by some of the members of the organization. So now we're getting the traditional earmarks of the case. A lot of this is hearsay. A lot of it's people talking about the former members talking about the cult itself, but it is reminiscent of every cult you've ever had. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, complete like autonomy to the leader, worship him. He's like divine amongst men. It all has all the earmarks. And now we're seeing that Tulsi Gabbard is one of these people who like came out of this group. So they had like this group chat essentially before that was like a thing, but it was like a Skype call. And this guy, he would basically dictate memos to like his secretary. And then they would be relayed to Tulsi, and like he would talk to her like, you're being lazy. Why you mishandled that so poorly? Like calling her like an idiot, like talking down to her. And she's like, yeah, there's no excuse, completely at his beck and call, like a pimp and a prostitute. She worked for him. Like he owned her and owned like how she operated in politics. Like, so I found out about this story from Breaking Points, and it's a Washington Post article, but shockingly, like, it's really not that widespread, and I frankly don't understand it. But they were comparing these things, like Washington Post has this article with 3 different video clips where they have these memos about what she's supposed to say, and it's all from this guy, S, that is kind of anonymous, but it's all understood that it's this guy, Chris Butler, that he's like the head of this cult. And he would tell her exactly what to say in these memos, and then she would like literally word for word say his exact talking points. So all those times that we were experiencing her kind of like staunch, like, anti-exploratory war thing, but ferociously anti-ISIS and anti-Al-Qaeda, those weren't even her politics, or at least if they were her politics, they were agreed upon by a committee. She wasn't just this maverick, National Guards woman who, saw the horrors of war and decided to step up and do the right thing. She was part of a collective. She was part of like a spiritual collective of who fucking knows what. Weird Indians, weird Hindus, yoga hippies. But they're also very anti-gay, anti-Muslim, and like really... It was like, apparently, like, they're like misogynistic, and I'm just kind of like, well, okay, listen, maybe they're not all bad. Maybe there's some good things about them. Okay, so dozens of attached memos appeared to document directives and advice for Gabbard from her time in Congress. Some contained instructions on what legislation she should propose, what policies she should embrace, and how she should conduct herself on television. Now, like I said, a lot of this, there's a lot of politicians, right? Like they have friends, they have advisors, they are manufactured, but like, she seems to be subservient to this guy. This guy seems to have like an autocratic control over her where he tells her what to do and then she does it. That is disturbing. I mean, that is very disturbing to me because that makes me feel like, oh, there's some weird cult guy who's actually running the intelligence services. Now, like I said, this article doesn't really give us a lot of evidence to suggest that while she was DNI, that was going on. But there's a lot of evidence that it was when she was in Congress. So unless she had some dramatic departure from this guy, I think it's reasonable to assume or deduce that she was in contact with this guy and that this guy was in fact like advocating her, telling her like what she should do with certain situations. I mean, a lot of that's technically treason. So, I'm not accusing her of that, but it stands to reason that guy's probably still quite influential in her life. And this is the first time any of us have ever really heard of this guy. Now, there was an article that came out years ago, but you may be surprised to learn that people didn't heed it because it's from an outlet called civilbeat.org. I've never even, it's from Honolulu. It's like a local paper in Hawaii, Honolulu Civil Beat. And the headline says, Senators urged to examine Gabbard's deep and intense ties to Hawaii sect. And it goes into it. And it's a pretty decent article, and it came out December of 2024. But that's about it, man. This is the first I've even heard about any of this. Tulsi's a beach pooper. Now, I don't know about her ethnicity, but I do know that what this cult is like some weird sect of Hinduism, some offshoot, like Hare Krishna is what it's called. J.D. Vance entity, Tulsi Hindu entity. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Trump entity, Miriam Adelson, more and more. No need to bring up the positives. Absolutely. Ryan D4Q, selling shirts that say no war with Iran and then literally being part of an admin that goes to war with Iran will never not be funny. Be funny if it wasn't so sad. But yes, indeed, brother. I know someone coming in from Kick. I don't know who that is, but sick. Let's go, RTC, go. All right, getting back into the story. So the person who appeared to be issuing the directives, like I said, it was kind of obscured. It was this guy, Chris Butler, presumably, but you can't definitively say it because he didn't sign anything. Like, he operated in secrecy, and you'd be like, why? Right? Like, why are you operating in secrecy unless you're up to something, right? So the person who was issuing these directives sometimes castigated Gabbard. There was it was Butler, of course, says Salzberg. No one else could speak to Gabbard like that, she added. Salzberg said the memos were unattributed precisely to mask Butler's identity if they ever became public. And then they would do, this was something that they kept doing. So when this guy started digging into it, and when this has come up in the past, they did like something out of the woke playbook. They did something out of like the Jewish playbook. They said, oh, this is just hostility against her Hindu faith. Trying to say that, like, anyone asking questions about this, oh, this is racism, or this is anti-religiousism, or whatever the fuck. But obviously, like, I think it's actually much more reasonable to be like, yeah. But are you in a cult, though? Like, this is the United States of America. We've made concessions for every fucking group. So obviously it's not about that. But are you in a cult, though? So, and the weirder things, like the more intense stuff, I think, I know, when are we getting a Scientology entity, Sentient Dildo? You're right. God, this country is so intolerant. This country is so goddamn intolerant. One of the interesting things, or kind of one of the more concerning things to me, is that the speaker in one of these memos pressed her to propose legislation penalizing countries with citizens who had fought for the Islamic State and to issue a statement about it. Now, look, I'm not here to defend ISIS. That's the Islamic State. I'm not here to defend ISIS. I'm no pro-ISIS guy. But it is fucking weird when you're talking about the type of legislation that's attacked to acts of war and military action, and this guy's advising her to do that, telling her to do that. Why? And to what end? Like, just to execute his own will? Like, this woman's like, she's a conduit for this guy's, like, geopolitical aims? That's disturbing. And it kind of enlightens you, like, how widespread is this? How many other people in powerful positions are conduits for other powerful people? Like, whose bidding are they really doing? On whose behalf are they actually working? And I think, like, something like this, because it is so exaggerated, it's so ridiculous, I think it actually can give you, like, pretty decent insight into how these other proxies work, how a proxy like J.D. Vance works, how all the Jewish lobbies, how they work, and their proxy candidates, the people who are just the skin suits who show up, right? Like, we talk about that, and we obviously object to it, and we voice criticism and like, make fun of it or whatever. But it's like, it's kind of hard to, you're like, oh, that guy just works for them. But, like, when you think of it as in the terms of, like, cult and surrogate in cult, then you're like, oh yeah, like that, like, all of a sudden the methodology becomes very clear. You're like, oh, that's how that could happen. That's totally how that could happen. It's almost like, oh, this is like a gateway into understanding how, like, the real networks of power, like they always talk about the shadowy government, the deep state, all this stuff behind, but you're like, oh shit. Does it all work like this? Does it all work like kind of cult leaders and powerful people and connected people and, like, persuasive people using these conduits to execute their will? Like, is that, I know we always talk about, like, politics being theater, but is literally the whole thing theater for the elites? Like their game? Like they press buttons and things just start happening. I guess it is. I guess I'm really just sort of finally like have understanding power, like the vision's just clicking in my head. But this is making sense to me. Okay, so there were people that asked remarkable questions saying, had a reclusive guru been secretly trying to steer Gabbard's actions as a public official? And there was Butler. So the guy himself was the one saying that, for your political career, you need to just keep this whole thing under wraps. Like once again, obfuscating the fact that he works for that they work together or whatever. But apparently, like they said, this guy had been involved in politics for years. He was interestingly enough, the son of a radical left-wing physician. Now, I couldn't find much about the father. I was curious. About his history. Perhaps his allegiances, where they came from, what they were up to. Not much was. I wasn't able to accomplish much in my searches. But this guy's basically like son of a communist, starts a cult, has been coaching Tulsi Gabbard ever since. So let me see here. Right. The Independence for Godly Government. That was the group. That was the political organization that he controlled in Hawaii, trying to first get his political action, his first foot in the door politically. And it didn't ever work. But so among Butler's disciples at the time was a couple named Mike and Carol Gabbard, who moved to Hawaii in the 1980s with their children, including young Tulsi. Mike Gabbard oversaw Butler's personal affairs until he was fired for lapses that included failing to ensure a fresh supply of mangoes for Butler's breakfasts, according to an internal SIF memo. SIF is the group. So this is the type of guy where it's like the mangoes aren't fresh enough. They're not plentiful enough. You failed at your duties to supply me with mangoes. You're fired. Cult leader. That's cult leader activity. With the SIF's backing, the family launched a forceful campaign against same-sex marriage in Hawaii. And this was interesting. I guess this was addressed. I had no idea. But it included a TV ad that featured Tulsi, then a teenager, that warned legalization of gay marriage would lead to people marrying their dogs. Yo, Tulsi, I didn't know you were that based. Let's fucking go. And this is something, I guess Atlas had pointed this out. I don't know, but she took the oath of office on the Bhagavad Gita, and said she was proud to be the first Hindu American member of Congress. I didn't know that. I kind of wish I did, but hey, can't get them all right. Tix Bomber. Indians have been immigrating since the 50s, and their entire plan is to reproduce, import their families, employ them, and take seats of power to push their policies and the ideology. I was talking about this on my Sunday show, and I forgot who it was. It was one of the dudes in the chat, and he was saying, oh, what are we supposed to do? You can't vote your way out of this. What do we do? Protest? And I'm like, listen, first of all, most people, many people, I'll count myself amongst them, are really beginning to develop their political consciousness and start to truly understand the nature of the system that they live in, instead of just kind of like the political game, the theater, picking sides on the sports team. They're starting to really understand the machinations of power. And there are more options than just vote or protest, getting actually involved, actually being a part of the system and using it for your own ends and to achieve your own goals that is politics. And, people get all upset, like, oh, the Jews control everything. How can we fight them? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, they're 2% of the entire country. If they can do it, we can fucking do it. This is the type of thing where it's like if you have like a mind about it, if you have like a focus, like a goal, and you think of it in these terms, it's like the levers of power can be pulled. And you're saying like, oh, the Indians are coming here doing that. It's like, well, that's in their interest. Obviously, I'd like to subjugate that, but this is the type of shit that we need to do. That's the type of stuff that we need to do. Assimilating isn't part of their plan. Well, it's not part of the Home Office's plan either. It's not part of the host country's plan either. They don't want them to assimilate. That's not the goal. Assimilation, then you still have a unified base. No. We need balkanization. We need disparate groups all fighting for their piece of the pie instead of working together. If they assimilate, then they're all still one group. Who cares? Ever see Trump's spiritual advisor? Yeah. Look, I think this matters. I don't think this is a no kind of story. I think dig into all those stories. Understand how all these people think. I think that really matters. I think that really you understand the picture here. You understand the bigger game being played instead of simply just, oh, you know, what this person said on TV, what this person said in an interview. It's like, no, now you can really understand like who's the player here. How is the power being applied, you know? Sentient Diddle, of course not, Matt. Democracy is there to give the plebs like you a voice. Your voice matters, Matt. Thank you very much, Sentient Diddle. I thought so as well. And it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear you reinforce that. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much, man. Don't fret, Matt. Your American-rigged individualism will defeat the Jeet horde. Your American rugged individualism. Yeah, I do worry. I do worry. I was out with my mom in town today, and I'm just like, I just feel defeated sometimes. You just look around, and you just see like the pride flags like everywhere, and just all the like progressive propaganda everywhere you fucking look. And you know, like you go into this bookstore, and the books there, you know, it's like current events, and it's all just political action, leftist, progressive, you know, George Floyd books. And I'm just like, maybe we've already lost. Maybe it's already over. Maybe we never had a chance. No, I moved, Joe. I moved. I'm in New York State now for at least a few months. It's dude, this area is crazy, bro. Like, I like it. It's quaint. It's nice to kind of be like in a small area, but somehow it's still just as politically gay, even more so. The amount of COVID masks I see people wearing is insane. COVID masks in 2026. I see them all the time. All the time. It's bananas. Like, I thought Austin was wacky. And Austin's wacky, man, but Jesus. Heavens to Betsy, it's nuts out here. All right, back to the story. Let's see here. Where was I? Okay, so and then there was this connection to the 9 Isles. So I think it's kind of back to what Tix Bomber was saying, like this sort of going back to like the infiltration of the country and the non-assimilation, because there was this email address, 9 Isles, 9isles.com, and he had trouble finding it. But it all goes back to this guy, Sunil Khamenei, and he's connected with Butler, and they're all part of this organization. But the 9 Isles is in Hindi, is Navadvipa, a city in India's West Bengal region that serves as a pilgrimage site for the Hare Krishna devotees. Now, if you understand, India, Pakistan, India Hindu, Pakistan Muslim, well, yeah, this guy might have a pretty severe beef with the Muslims. Like I said, I'm not like on their side. I'm not pro-Muslim, but you start to understand, oh, okay, these are like political gripes this guy has, and he's using his proxy to execute them from an island in Hawaii for like the greatness of India or some shit. Like, yo, what's going on, man? What is happening? Because when Tulsi was getting attacked in like the 2010s, you know, and she would go on Joe Rogan, and then Barry Weiss would say, oh, she's Assad's toady. That big, you know, embarrassing moment where that idiot didn't even know what toady meant, which, like, by context clues, you could have figured out what toady is. I mean, that's pretty, but she's just such an idiot. She's just such a regurgitating retard. But, you know, everyone was coming after her because she was, like, tough on this issue and not tough on the other issue, but, like, wanted American sovereignty. And, like, your reflex is to, like, defend her and, like, be on her side. And now you realize, oh, no. Oh, no, she's not on our side. She's on some weird Hare Krishna cult member's side. It's got nothing to do with the American people. And if it does, I feel like it takes a secondary role to his goals. Joe's atmosphere. Yes, no, it's much worse. It's very wacky. It's crazy. Sencha Dildo, at least you can carry guns in Austin. I heard it's almost impossible in New York. Bro, it is crazy difficult. Like I looked into, so I had a Glock 45, which is a 9mm Glock pistol with a 17-round magazine, right? I looked into, and there's no Texas gun registry, right? You just own guns as long as you're not a criminal, you're not breaking the law, you don't have to register them with the state. Well, I looked into, I'm like, okay, so if I was going to bring this gun into New York, what would be the penalties if I did that? You know what I mean? I was curious because at first I'm like, it's the Second Amendment. You're not going to take my rights away. And then I looked at it and it was like, first of all, having the pistol, registered or not, with that size magazine, it was an automatic 2 years in prison. And then if I showed up in New York with an unregistered handgun, it was an automatic 5 years in prison. So I was looking at 7 years in prison if I walked into the state carrying that gun. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll leave it in Texas with my buddy. Like, nah. Look, I believe in my cause. I don't want to do 7 years. Like, I believe in my rights. Yeah, they have a 10-round mag limit. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. Apparently, it's a little easier to get your hands on, a rifle or a shotgun, but pistols are very, very difficult, apparently, so. Hindu versus Slim Beef goes deep. Yeah, it does indeed. The second premise, why do American schools need 10 commandments in every classroom? Now you know. It's interesting. I've been reading more of Buchanan's The Death of the West. Such a fucking great book. I really recommend it if you haven't read it. I'm about 100 pages in, but it's such a great read, and it's so accessible. Like, he lays it out in a very digestible way, makes his point crystal clear, really walks through his entire thing. But Dildo, I came across a part. I'm reading it, and there's that guy. He brings up the Italian communist who had the long march through the institutions. I forgot the guy's name, Gramucci or whatever. But he talked about him, and then his role in the entire cultural revolution of the 1960s in the United States of America. I was like, damn, dude, damn. Bro, we don't even have 10-round limit on handguns. Yeah, that was some female legislation that New York passed. New York's ridiculous. It's because they do have a lot of crime, but it's because they're so, liberal that they won't recognize the differences in races. They won't police their people. They allow all these activists and interest groups to have way too much power. So when they actually do decide to police black neighborhoods, well, then, all the alarm bells go off and nothing can get done. Defund the police, make sure that the cops' pistols have more draw weight, all this bullshit. And it's just like liberals will do literally anything other than fix the problem. They'll make it difficult and turn, millions of New Yorkers into criminals instead of just policing black neighborhoods. It's like literally all you have to do is just crack skulls in black neighborhoods. These problems will go away. But they'll do everything other than that. Literally everything other than that. That's right. Yeah. Antonio Gramsci. Yeah, he brought that up. I was like, oh, no, that's crazy. That's funny. All right. Back to the story. Okay. So a lot of this, right? A lot of it, like I said, this guy's article is him trying to prove that the guy is Butler. For our argument's sake, we're just going to assume it's Butler. If it is, and I'm sorry, but everything that I was reading kind of essentially assumes that it was. But there's all this stuff that he in particular advises her on certain issues. Like I said, the thing with the Islamic State, and there's another one with the veteran affairs and their health care. And then he would in a memo, Butler would say, this is what you should say about it. And then she would go on the news and she would repeat it verbatim, exactly as this guy was talking about it. Let me see. Oh, yeah, and I guess this guy had beef with the CIA. I'm trying to think actually if there's anything really more to this story. Maybe not. I guess really if I wanted to just keep breaking down the details of what it is, there wasn't. I think the reason this story hasn't gone as far reaching as it should, in my opinion, is that it doesn't have anything super salacious. There's not any super really violence or sexual activity. It doesn't have the information, the thing that would help it go viral. But in my opinion, I feel this warrants an FBI investigation. Like, I feel like this is the type of thing that like there should be like a full court press to like understand how long have you been working for this guy? How far reaching is his influence? Like, were you doing things on behalf of this guy when you were in charge of the government's intelligence apparatus, when you were a congresswoman? Like, this is the type of stuff I feel like the American people have a right to know. Like, if this woman is like I said, an apparatchik for some fucking wacko in Hawaii, you know, executing his Hindu will, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like that's the type of thing that needs observation. But, you know, Papa Cotton, if you can't hit anything with 6 shots, you need more time at the range. I really feel like that's just LARP, what you just said. Like, yeah, I guess if you're standing in front of someone and you're just pointing a gun at them, then like, yeah, like, okay, fine. But like, other than that, like, I don't know. I feel like in high stress situations when things are going wrong and things are going down, like 6 shots could go really fast. But you know, I've never been. When's Tulsi joining the show? Tulsi's not joining the show. I'm talking about her. Tulsi Gabbard is not coming on the show to talk about that she was in a Hindu cult. Why is that? Can someone explain to me how to make thumbnails where I talk about a subject and people don't get the misconception that they're on the show? This keeps happening. This happens on my Sunday show all the time, where I'll do like a thumbnail and I'll have like the people that I'm talking about on the show, and they're like, wait, why isn't Nick Fuentes on the show? Why isn't Scott Horton on the show? You're like, they're not going to be on it. It says the conversations you missed on the thumbnail. It's about the conversations they had. No, I'm sorry. Essential Doodle, the issue is y'all have urban use with extendos and switches on their Glocks. Bruh. No kidding, man. I was seeing this video the other day, and I guess it was on Twitter, and all these dudes had like assault rifles and all types of crazy shit, and I was just like, bro, like, it's so scary too, because it's like, well, I can't even defend myself here. I can't even have like my glizzy on me. I need to have that thing on me. If I don't have that thing on me, I'm vulnerable. Gunfights happen in seconds. 6 rounds go quick if you panic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think 6 rounds go quick. Probably in general, man. 6 rounds go quick at the range. I don't know. But anyway, that's Tulsi Gabbard, potentially, you know, working for a cult member. I don't know. It's one of these things that really kind of blows my mind. I feel like it deserves more coverage. I feel like it deserves more conversation. It's one of these stories that I feel like should have a lot more people interested in it than it does. I don't know. There was another story from the Washington Post. I guess I don't really need to pull up the article. We can just talk about the implications of it. But apparently the Supreme Court ruled today that the protected status of all these Syrians and Haitians can actually be released. That they could actually deport something like 300,000 like Haitians and like another 200,000 Syrians. And then there's all this debate amongst the Supreme Court justices, one saying, oh, this is racist, and the other one saying that this is, what's it called? Like, their rights are being trampled on.